One thing about me is that when I find a piece of clothing that fits me really nicely, I have to get it in every single pattern and colour that it can possibly come in. So on that note, this is my favourite skirt ever. It's just a very basic A-line mini skirt. I got it secondhand a few years ago, but it's originally from Topshop, which obviously doesn't exist anymore. And I've just never been able to find an A-line mini skirt that hits the same way that this does for me. So I thought to myself, why don't I just clone it? Despite the fact that I've been sewing for like 8 years now, I've never actually tried the cloning process on any of my clothes. And what I mean by cloning is you take an existing garment and you create a paper pattern from that garment, which you can then use to create clones of the original garment. Spoiler alert, when I'm recording this, I have actually already completed the cloning process successfully. But going into this, I was pretty confident that I'd be able to do it because it is a pretty basic skirt. It's really just a front and a back, a zip and some darts, and a waistband. So let's go to the studio and see how I did it.
Okay, here we go.
This is just some craft paper from Home Bargains, but it will probably work better if you have actual pattern paper. And the first thing I did was just turn the skirt inside out and look at what we're working with. The front of the skirt is pretty basic, just one piece, but then when we turn it over onto the back, we've got a zip that goes all the way up to the waistband, and we also have some darts. Overall, it's still pretty simple though. I started with the pattern for the front, so I lined up the side seams to fold it in half so that we could make a really symmetrical pattern. And I just used a quilting ruler to draw a really straight line for the centre front. And then I got myself just a regular sewing pin, and I'm going to use this to mark down the seam line. So I just stuck the pin through the fabric where the seam line is and pressed it a bit to leave an indentation in the paper. I do have a cutting mat underneath, by the way. I coloured in the holes so you can see them a bit better. And then you just kind of play join the dots and a skirt pattern will start to appear. I added some seam allowance and then repeated these steps for the back piece. But if you remember, in the back of the skirt there are some darts, so we have to do some maths. I measured the width of the dart and then added that back to the waist measurement at the top of the back skirt piece. So as you can see, the waist measurement here is wider than the actual skirt looks. And then I used the pin trick again to mark where I wanted the dart to end, and then just marked it on the pattern. I also put a little mark on the pattern where the zip should go, and also marked the fold edges just to remind myself that it should be going on a fold. Once I had these front and back pattern pieces, it was time to make the first mock-up, so I just grabbed this really cheap cotton fabric that I had lying around the studio. I didn't film myself trying this mock-up on because if you've seen my previous videos, you know the whole situation with the lack of lighting in the toilets in the studios, blah blah blah. But it was just a little bit too tight, so I made a note to myself to add a bit more to the centre of the pattern pieces because I just thought that would be the easiest place to add some more width. So after the first day, I had my mock-up and my paper pattern pieces. As you saw, I only needed to make one very minor adjustment in the mock-up stage, which was just to add a bit more room in the waist because it was a bit tight. I did say it was quite a simple skirt to clone. I can imagine if you're trying to clone a blouse or anything with sleeves, that might be a little bit harder. So then I was set to make it out of my actual material that I wanted to use, which is this amazing plaid fabric that has teddy bears in the middle. This is a jacquard fabric that I got from Minerva.com. It was from their dead stock section, so it was only about £5 a metre, which is an amazing deal. I don't think I really filmed that much of the making stage for the actual skirt, but let's maybe go back to the studio and see what happened. Here is the gorgeous teddy bear fabric. I only bought this a few months ago because I'm really trying not to hoard fabric these days. And this is what the back of the fabric looks like if you're interested. I cut out the front and the back pieces, and then I found this zip in my stash that was the perfect colour for this skirt. This is not going to be an in-depth zip tutorial, but I just put some interfacing where I'm going to insert the zip because obviously it's not going in a seam. Then I did the darts, and also for this project I decided to do French seams because this fabric is quite prone to fraying. And this is what the seams look like, all neat and tidy. Then I added the zip, but as I said, this isn't a tutorial, so this is just what it looked like. You might have noticed I didn't make a pattern piece for the waistband, and that's because a waistband is literally just a rectangle. Got the waistband on, hemmed it, easy peasy. I'm so happy with how the skirt turned out. It fits basically identically to the original leopard print skirt, which was obviously the goal of all of this. And I think it'll be really handy to have this block for like quite a basic skirt. It fits me really nicely. Because it's so basic, it's really customizable, so I could add like a ruffle to it, I could add pockets, I could add belt loops, I could lengthen it. There's so much that I could do. With the rest of the teddy bear fabric, I actually ended up making a matching top, and I'll insert some footage of me wearing them together now. I love it when my vision actually comes to fruition. Anyway, thanks for watching this month's video. Shout out to my new subscribers. I started the year on like 6 subscribers and now I'm at 47, so that's pretty cool. I'll link the pattern that I used for the top down below and also the fabric if it's still available, and I will see you next month. Bye.